Well, the American Legislative Exchange Council, also known as ALEC, released its highly anticipated 18th edition of Rich State, Poor States today. The premier annual report ranking each state's economic outlook for the coming year. The American Legislative Exchange Council is America's largest nonpartisan voluntary membership organization of state lawmakers dedicated to the principles of limited government, free markets, and federalism. Wouldn't that be nice? Here with me to discuss this newly released index is the president and chief economist at the American Legislative Exchange Council, Jonathan Williams. Jonathan, nice to see you here today.
Well, great to be with you. Thanks for the invitations, and greetings from the #1 state in America, Utah.
All right. Well, Utah. All right. So there you've let the cat out of the bag. Utah #1 for economic outlook. Okay. Why?
It's a great story. We were just doing a press conference with Governor Cox and the legislative leaders earlier today. It's an incredible success record of limited government, lower taxes, a state that just, they keep going. Other states across the country want to catch Utah, but Utah looks around the corner and says, what do we need to do to stay at the top and empower our taxpayers? And as we like to say, the proof's in the pudding. Utah is the fastest growing state in America in terms of GDP growth over the last year. Think about this, Steve, for a second. Utah has more than 4.5% GDP growth in the last 12 months, and they're a leader over the last decade when it comes to GDP growth, job growth, and even population growth. And so the connection between lower taxes and limited government philosophy here, it's done wonders for the state of Utah, and I think it's going to continue based on what we're seeing.
So other states that see things going the other direction, give me who. All right, so Utah's first. Who's last, Jonathan?
Well, it's not going to surprise you at all. New York is dead last at 50th out of 50. They've been dead last for 12 years in a row now. They gave it up 1 year where they gained an entire one spot to 49th, and Vermont, Bernie Sanders' Vermont, took it over at dead last. But it's the mix, it's really the toxic mix Ronald Reagan warned us of, which is the liberal view of the economy. If it moves, tax it. If it keeps moving, regulate it. If it stops moving, subsidize it. That's what we're seeing in states like New York and California and Illinois, which, by the way, they're the states, Steve, that Americans are voting with their feet very strongly against the states that have this high tax format, and they're voting towards states like Texas, Florida, and Utah that actually value economic freedom and empowering individuals.
Sure. Jonathan, I want to ask you about two states that you have not mentioned, and the reason I mentioned these two states, Ohio and Iowa, there's a reason for this. They're both former swing states. They're both states that used to determine elections, but now they're very much red states. What kind of changes do we see there? I see you glancing at your notes, which is fine. It wasn't supposed to be a pop quiz, but I do want to know, what are these states doing? They've become solidly red over the last 2 or 3 presidential election cycles. I don't see that changing. How are they doing?
Well, both of those states are great states. I mean, I'm a Michigan native, as you know well, and the Midwest has been a competitive region over the years. Both Iowa and Ohio improved this year in the rankings because you've had, I think, a commitment from both of those states as they've seen more conservative, not just presidential votes, but more conservative legislators begin to take office over time. And you've seen this really trend towards both of those states cutting taxes. They became, in many cases, more pro-job creator when it comes to lower regulation. And there are states that, in Iowa's case, it kicked off the flat tax revolution just a number of years ago with Governor Reynolds and legislative leaders. So they've both been incredible turnaround stories.
And what about your home state? My home state of Michigan, much more left of center politics, no question about it. Governor Whitmer, who hid behind her notebook there in the Oval Office infamously here a couple of days ago. What is Michigan doing compared to those two states you just described?
Well, Michigan falls this year. That's not going to surprise no one, as Ohio and Iowa and Indiana and many states in the Midwest gain, losing right to work and seeing just the reversal of fortunes there. Thank God we have Speaker Matt Hall, who as minority leader stopped so many of the bad things from getting done in Lansing in December in that horrible lame duck session that the progressives were running. But Michigan's going to fall this year, and there's going to be gridlock for the next 2 years. And I think we just have to look ahead to 2026 and hope that we have a freedom-minded governor and legislature that comes in and reverses this decline.
To me, can't the people of New York say, hey, Utah, what are you doing? Hey, Ohio, what are you doing? Hey, Indiana, what are you doing? It would seem that best practices would come into play, but Jonathan, they do not. Greatly appreciate your insight here Limited government, lower taxes, right to work. These things help states to be economically powerful. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.